Hey class, in Unit 8 in MM207, some students find difficulty in this unit, maybe because there are a lot of different types of problems. For some people, it may seem like there's a lot more math involved than maybe some of the previous units. But make sure that you watch all the videos that are available to you. There's a video on how to do the different parts of the discussion to make sure you use the appropriate techniques for the different parts. There's also a video that walks you through how to do the homework and quiz questions that ask you to use the empirical rule or the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. And so that video walks you through a worksheet that you can use for that, or just how to even apply the empirical rule. And this video is going to walk you through how to do the homework or quiz questions that ask you to use the z-score formula and the z-tables to do probability or percentage calculations. It's going to be important for you to know how to use the z-score formula and how to use the z-tables, because some of the questions in the homework or the quiz ask you to calculate the number of standard deviation units a value is away from the mean. And that's what a z-score tells you. For example, if a z-score comes out to be +2, that lets you know that a value is 2 standard deviation units above average or above the mean. So it will be important to use the formula and the tables, but there's also a website provided for you that can help you do shortcut calculations if all the questions ask you to do is find probabilities or percentages using z-scores. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So on your screen, you're looking at the homework and looking at different questions, and there's different things that are going to be required depending on the questions. So I'm skipping over these because with these are types of questions that you have to read and answer. There's not going to be any formula or worksheet or website to help you with these. This is just knowing the material and normal distributions. So we'll keep clicking. And you'll start to see problems that this one says use the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. Well, make sure you watch the video on how to use the empirical rule. The empirical rule means the same thing as 68, 95, 99.7 rule. Sometimes people call it empirical rule. Some people call it 68, 95, 99.7 rule. So make sure you watch the video on that because this video is not going to help you with the problems that ask you to use that rule. This video, if you go to the next problem, notice the next problem says to use standard scores, and standard scores is another word for z-scores. And it gives you, it says to click on the icon to view the table. So it gives you standard scores, which are z-scores, and percentiles for various z-scores. So you can use the z-score formula here and look up your z-score in this table to help you get the answer, or you can use the larger z-tables provided for you and still use the z-score formula. Or since this question is asking you to use standard scores and it's asking for percentages, this is the type of problem that you can use the website or the online calculator that I'm getting ready to show you. And there are a lot of these out there. So here's one. I could click to number 8. Also looks almost exactly the same. Use standard scores, find the percentage. That's going to be the type of problem that you're going to be able to use this website. Click to number 9. Same thing. Standard scores, find the percentages. You're going to be able to use this website that I'm getting ready to show you. And so my point is there are a lot of these. Standard scores, percentage. You're going to be able to use this website. So there are many, many of these types of questions out there. Here's another one, all right in a row. So these are the ones that you can use this website that I'm going to show you. So I'm not going to use the same numbers here in case some people might get these same questions, but I'm going to just demonstrate how to use the website. So let me pull that up for you. Here's what it looks like. Let me go ahead and pull up the question. All right, so here's the website. And so what you're going to be doing is specifying your mean and standard deviation in these top 2 boxes. So like if we come over here, it said has a mean of 165 and a standard deviation of 9. This is heights of adult women, and this is in centimeters. So 165 is the mean and 9 is the standard deviation. They will, on all these questions that I just pointed out that all look so similar, they will give you the mean and the standard deviation. So I'm just going to use the number 160 instead of 165 and use a standard deviation of 8. But, you know, same kind of problem. So I would come over here and click on 160, standard deviation of 8. And then you go back to the question, and you have to be careful with the wording so that you'll know what radio buttons to click on the website. So this asks us to find the percentage of heights less than 174. Less than is important. So less than 174 means I'm trying to find below 174. And so what that means is when I go to the website, I have to change this radio button to the below one. And then I have to type in the number, 174 in this case. And once I've put that information in, paid attention to the wording so that I know I'm clicking the correct radio button, then all I do is come down here and click recalculate. It actually visually shows the area shaded to make sure you can double check and make sure it's shaded in the direction you want. So our 174, even though it's not labeled, is where this line is right here, 174. And it's got the mean of 160, roughly that standard deviation of 8, because you see it splitting up the normal distribution into these parts that are a distance of 8 apart. And it looks like it's finding what's below the 174. And so our answer is 0.9599. Now realize that's in probability form, so that's a decimal. To change it to a percent, you're just going to move the decimal 2 places over or multiply by 100. And our answer would be 95.99%. Now, of course, you in the questions would want to be careful about how many decimal places it wants. And in this case, it does want 2 decimal places and it wants a percentage. So 95.99 would be the actual answer that you would type in the box. Now, it's not going to be the correct answer here because remember, I changed the mean and standard deviation numbers. But that's, you know, that's how easy it is. Suppose it had said, because these problems will typically have multiple parts, suppose it asked us to find the percentage of heights above 174. Well, if that were the case, then I would just have to change the radio button up here to above, type in my 174, click recalculate, and notice it's shifted the graph to shading above the 174. And move the decimal point, your answer there would be 4.01% of the heights would be above 174 centimeters. Suppose it said find the percentage of heights between 164 and 174 centimeters. And all of these you'll see out there. They like to ask below, above, and in between. So you would now go click the between, put in 164 for the lower number, 174 for the higher number. Click recalculate. Notice the graph is shaded between 164 and 174, just like you wanted. So you can look up at the shading on the graph and make sure it looks like what you want. I mean, drawing the graphs and making this unit visual is a really important thing to be able to be successful in this unit and to not only be able to do the problems, but to understand what the problems are helping you find. So the percentage of heights between 164 centimeters and 174 centimeters would be, if you come down here and look at your box after you pressed recalculate, 26.85%. And certainly that shaded region looks like it's, you know, definitely less than 50% that's been shaded. So that's how easy it's going to be to do a lot of those homework problems and a lot of the quiz questions. Remember, if the questions ask you to use the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, you don't use this worksheet, you use the other empirical rule worksheet provided for you. That's an Excel worksheet. But if the questions ask you to use standard scores and the tables, percentile tables, and it just asks you for percentages below, percentages above, percentages in between, then this is an easy route to take to be able to get your answers very easily and very quickly for those types of questions. So hope that's helpful for you all.